Ingenious by Rainer Nietzsche is a game that I've seen on the shelves of hobby board game stores for quite a while, and I initially, maybe 10-15 years ago when I first noticed it, I snubbed it a little bit, yes, because, it looks too much like one of the classic abstract games that our modern hobby has moved away from, as we tend to play games with a theme. And the theme sometimes is very, very thin. I don't know you're going to learn much about Portuguese styles from Azul, but we're told that there is a theme. Here, Ingenious is just unapologetically an abstract game. And interestingly enough, this is actually why in time my respect for the game, which I hadn't played, increased precisely because it is one of the very few modern abstract games that you still see in friendly local board game stores next to hobby games. So in time I became curious and now I finally got my chance to try Ingenious. So the game is abstract in nature. It comes with several variants. I'm gonna tell you about the basic game first, in case you, like me, are one of the few people in the world that hadn't tried this game yet. Each player will have one of these holders and will draw 6 plastic tiles that are thin but also sturdy and nice looking. They represent 2 hexes. And each has 2 symbols, and sometimes it is the same symbol repeated. Once you place one on the board, you will draw another one from the bag. Unfortunately, the bag in my copy has started bursting at the seams, so you can see that there is a hole here. Players will simply alternate taking a turn and placing a tile on the board. Now, when you place a tile on the board, you should imagine that there are arrows shooting out of 5 directions, basically 5 directions of each of the 2 hexes. The 5 edges, not the one that is facing the other half of the tile. So this purple circle is shooting arrows in all these 5 directions and yellow in these other 5 directions. When you place a tile, you score points for each symbol of the same type that the arrows are touching. So simply here, after placing that one, I score 1 point for yellow. And suppose that later I place this one, now I'm scoring 2 points because of yellow. And if I place this one here, now I'm scoring 1 point for blue from that direction, 1 point for blue for that direction. And there's no maximum distance that these kind of like arrows or lines of sight, whatever you want to call them, extend, as long as it is an unbroken chain of things. So you can imagine that you're going to start having large areas because, hey, I built that one, that little blue cluster, and so somebody else wants to exploit it also. And now by placing the blue there, they're scoring 2 points for this one, 3, 4 for this other one. And precisely for the same reason, from time to time, you want to try to break that engine a little bit. That will score me 3, but maybe make it a little harder to score further. And then we're going to move to another side, and somebody starts building around red, and somebody else around orange, and so on and so forth. You have these boards here that you will use to keep track of, again, what you score each turn. And so, I score 2 for blue or 2 for green. Now, these pegs, they do fit in there, but they're really nice and tight, which I think is a great advantage. So these will be more durable, but at least for the time being, when you may bust the dominant hand, I'm having a hard time doing that. So after playing a game in which I was painfully sticking these in with my non-dominant hand, which meant, of course, that I was messing up, they were flying everywhere. Well, for the time being, that's how I keep track with these pegs sitting on top of their tracks, and that's how it works. The basic game continues until, if somebody reaches the end of their track, they immediately get a second placement. So before they replenish their holder, they get to place another tile, and if they hit another one with 18, they also they keep going. And if somebody gets 18 in all categories, in all colors, they win the game immediately, but that doesn't seem to be very likely. The game, if not, that's not the case. The game ends when the board is as filled as possible, meaning when people cannot place any new tiles anymore. And at that point, the winner is the player who has the highest score in the lowest scoring color, which gives an incentive to work on multiple colors. Like, hey, I spammed the blue engine there, yeah, but now I need to work on the red engine or another thing. So we're gonna try to keep it as even as possible. Again, winner, highest score in the lowest scoring category. That's for the basic game. Then you have the dual game, which only plays for 2 players. I mean, you can also play the basic with 2 players only, but for the dual version, which is more confrontational, you're gonna only have 1 scoring board. You flip it face down the way I showed you. You're gonna place the color scoring pegs here. And basically when you score points as normal, but you pull the peg in your direction. So yin and yang, the pendulum going back and forth. I scored 2. Oh no, I scored 5, and so on and so forth. And that's the general idea. And the general idea is that at the end you will win if you have most pegs on your side when again the board is all filled up. And then you have the solo version in which you don't have the holder, you don't have the holder of 6 tiles to choose from. You simply draw 1 tile at a time from the bag and you place it and you score it, and you're just trying to get a high score. That's in essence the solo version. And so these are some of the ways in which you can play Ingenious. I like this game enough. It's short and simple, so I like it enough that I may even play it from time to time in the future. But I don't like it a lot to the point that I would like to make this, in my top 20 or 30 or in the regular rotation of games. Because it is still a little too classic for my personal taste, a little too abstract. The components look great. No, they don't shine through. That was disappointing when I realized they don't shine through like on the lid. But they look nice and sharp, and the overall board looks also interesting. But you're still gonna have this big clamps of things of the same color, as players are gonna try, of course, to spam that area before they migrate to another area. Somebody starts building green, then you go and try to milk that before somebody starts building something else. And so you're gonna have different areas of interest as the game progresses. Yes, ideally you want to find the right time to shut down the expansion of a certain area because you milked it good enough, but you hope other people will not. But ultimately, again, it just feels a little too dry and, surprise, surprise, abstract for my taste. Also, I play with 2 players, and I like the amount of time that the game takes that way. I'm afraid if I go above that, then you'll be playing, like 25% of the game only with 4 players, because there's no direct interaction, nothing to do between turns. I'm really concerned about downtime with more players. So for 2 players, it seems to me that it can be a nice little occasional family filler. I was hoping for more from the solo mode, which turned out to be, however, very random, and some of the best parts that I liked about the multiplayer were just not there, because you draw a single tile and you place it where you hope it scores the most. And later in the game, you are found in a position where, of course, it's going to be this one color, these 2 colors that are behind, and you may not draw them. And so the solitaire version turned out to be a lot more luck-based than I would have enjoyed, and just lacking, just underwhelming. So Ingenious, for a family game, if you like After games, I see the merits. It is not just the kind of game that I play very often these days, and unfortunately, it is not improved upon by the solo option, which again I found quite disappointing.